The good part about this book is I'm sort of able to put a person to the player that people see. You're still a human being. You're still going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. It took me a long time to mature and grow to that thought. Got myself to 64, I think it was, opening the batting, and then hit 6 sixes in an over to bring up 100.
There'll be a bloke running around Melbourne telling people to this day, yeah, I got hit by Glenn Maxwell.
Cam Ralston.
Oh, you've named him!
And I went back in the change room and he goes, everything okay? And I was like, I've just been selected to play for Australia. So we got in the huddle, about to sing the song, and he goes, Maxi, good luck. And everyone went nuts. Like, it was such a cool experience. I went from pub cricket to playing for Australia in about a month and a half.
The three best things I've seen live: Kathy Freeman winning, John Aloisi scoring a goal, and you making 200 in Mumbai.
I've been told a lot of stories how it affected people. I talked about my dad falling asleep. He's watched pretty much every game that I've ever played in my life.
Tell me about Virat Kohli.
We had a training session, finished up and said, can we get a car back to the hotel? Immediately alarm bells are going off in my head like, this is probably not a good idea.
Well, we have what I would describe. He didn't take this description yesterday on the phone, but I would describe as a global icon has wandered into this studio. A man that's not probably aware of his own profile, which we'll get to, and he is also now an author with Glenn Maxwell, the Showman. Maxi, I've been looking forward to this podcast, I reckon, for 4.5 years. To get you here on the studio is a great thrill for us all. How are you, great man?
Very good, mate. It's been a while because we've been trying to work this out amongst our schedules.
We have.
We've both been busy at different times.
You're busier than me, but yes.
I think we've had one catch-up, which was straight after the 201 in Mumbai.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Was it in Mumbai or?
See, this is a good story.
It was in Pune.
It was in Pune, and I got off at the airport, and the great Matty Weiss from Fox Cricket said, mate, we've got to get to Maxi's hotel. It's 15 minutes down the road. An hour and 45 minutes later, I was a hot and bothered man when I got to your hotel.
So this is one of the great parts of the book because I detailed the last 20 minutes of the bus journey from Mumbai to Pune, right, which was about 1.5 km. Oh my God. With a child who's, he would have been just over 2 months old.
Yes.
Just a bit over 2 months old, and had an explosion.
Sort of rear end style explosion?
It was an explosion, and that was what I was doing. That was my come back to earth
reality.
moment.
That was I think a day after the Afghanistan game, which there's so many things we need to talk about. But writing a book, mate, congratulations. Why? And you did it with the great Adam Collins. What was the process like? Did you enjoy it? And did it give you a chance to reflect on what is typically for you a whirlwind?
Yeah, it was actually a really enjoyable process. It's something that's probably been in the works for a few years, and we never really got the timing right. There was talk of even doing a documentary at one stage where there could have been a really pivotal moment in my career, which was around 2022. But again, that sort of fell through timings. I wanted to concentrate on some other things. We spoke about a book at some stage. And the story probably just wasn't quite there that we were looking for. And then once we finished the World Cup last year, I suppose I spoke to Adam. We sort of said, we think we've got an idea for a story, and they brought me that idea, and I was like, I love it, and sort of found a way that we could sort of draw on parts of my life where it, obviously that year there was a fair bit going on, and I was able to, I suppose, draw on parallels and on parts early in my career. And it's not an autobiography as such where I list basically all my scores from juniors through to the World Cup final.
If I had your scores, that's exactly what my book would be. But anyway.
Maybe not. I think I've got the duck record in the IPL, so I wouldn't want to list them all. But yeah, I think to be able to, I suppose, explain the things that are still happening these days, that I'm still reflecting on things in the past and how they had such a big influence to either make me the player or the person I am today. To, I suppose, be able to explain a lot of that sort of stuff is, I'm not sort of sure what the word is. It's really relieving to sort of almost get that all out
there. Cathartic?
Yeah, cathartic. It was quite enjoyable talking through those experiences and being able to sort of put it all to paper. And I've read the book a couple of times, probably 3 or 4, and some chapters a few more than others. And even reading it back, it's just like it gives me good memories. It brings a smile on my face, and I think the relationship and maturity stuff, and I really enjoy looking back at probably the young, brash player that sort of came into, I suppose, a slightly more mature, older player who's at a really comfortable place in his life and has a lot of things, I suppose, a bit more sorted off the field.
What was the pivotal moment that you were thinking about making a documentary about?
So there was a big year. I was in really good touch towards the back end of 2021. There was a big year of the IPL coming up. There was the Sri Lanka tour in 2022. We sort of highlighted that might be a chance to almost document my progression to almost play Test cricket again, and I just sort of put that on the back burner. And there was a few other series in amongst that I thought would have been really important. But in the same thing, you're probably a distraction more than anything. And I think at that stage, I probably just wasn't ready for those distractions to sort of overtake my training. I didn't have, I suppose, the same determination of preparation as I do now.
Yeah.
To 2021, it was all about a bit of batting, do as much fielding as I can, and didn't really bowl too much. And I got the running done that I needed to. And where now, obviously, post-injury, I'm extremely structured in everything I do to make sure that my body's in a great space. And I probably just wasn't clear enough on what I wanted to do with my preparation in that period, where I was able to, I suppose, concentrate on other things and have something else come into my life and be a distraction.
I mentioned yesterday, so we're on the phone and we were trying to organise this, and you said to me, oh, gee, I'm surprised how much publicity there is about the book and how many things I'm doing. And I said to you, Glenn, well, that's because you're a global icon. And you're like, what are you talking about? Has this process given you greater understanding about your level of popularity? I've seen it in India firsthand, and we will try and explain that to people, but the amount of people that are interested in what you're doing day to day is a tremendous number. Hence the term global icon, which I know you'll shy away from.
Yeah, I think it's still uncomfortable. I still see myself as that boy from South Belgrave who grew up with a great family and loved to play cricket and footy, and that's sort of still uncomfortable, I suppose, to think that when you go out into the street, people know who you are and people know what you're doing and have a genuine interest in what you do away from cricket. And it's probably never been something that sat well with me, and probably why I've shied away from a lot of social media stuff over the last little bit and tried to sort of stay a bit more internal in what I do. And I think that's probably helped focus on the things that probably matter a bit more. I think that's internal relationships with everyone I sort of come across in my game, and family and friends. I try and sort of keep that at the forefront of my mind and not sort of probably get caught up in too much of the stuff that doesn't matter, and basically just trying to relieve any unnecessary stress as much as I can.
You talk about social media. It's become such a big part, we'll get straight into it here, Maxi, of modern life. And Finchy showed me what he received on Twitter at one point after making a low score, and I've seen what I can get in commentary if I get something wrong, and I saw what Finchy was getting, and he said, mate, this is nothing. Talk to Maxi at some stage about what he gets if he hasn't succeeded. Take me into that world, what you get and what effect it can have on you as a person.
So I specifically remember, I think it was about 2014-ish, I'd had a couple of lowish scores, and I remember being on the team bus and a few of the boys, and I'd sort of said something like, oh, geez, they're into me on Twitter, and someone asked, oh, what's been said? And I read a few of them out, and they're like, that's not right.
What type of things people say? Is it general?
It's pretty brutal abuse, like death threats, calling me a fixer and all that sort of stuff. There's no there's no ceiling to it. It's as brutal and ridiculous as you can possibly imagine. And it was non-stop. It was through every comment. Like, as soon as you have a low score, you would find it really hard to find a positive or a supportive comment.
And what's it like when you read that?
At the time, I was okay to sort of like just wash it away because I'm like, it doesn't matter, it's okay. But when it started affecting the way like the general public or even the media started to treat me, that's when it probably affected me a bit more. So and my family were affected by a lot of it. Like, they were like, oh, don't read anything you're reading online. I was like, I haven't. Like, what is there? Like, and then I'd have a look and I'm like, geez, that's pretty full on. Like, it's a bit harsh. And I think the good part about this book is I'm sort of able to put a person to the player that people see
exactly
on the field. And I'm probably guilty of it when I was a kid. I saw the cardboard cutouts of my idols, and I didn't expect them to be anything else than global superstar cricketers that I just idolised.
And were invincible.
And then I suppose as you get older, you realise, well, you're still a human being. You're still going to make mistakes at different times. You're not perfect. There's obviously reasons things are different off the field, and getting to meet your idols and sort of talk to them, you get a better understanding of them as people, understand how mistakes, the mistakes that they sort of taught me through, and how it's like, no, it's not the end of the world. Like, we're normal human beings, and then you can sort of relate to them on a different level. And it took me a long time to mature and grow to that thought, but it was hard. I was probably sifting through all that negativity for so long. And I think we spoke about this after the World Cup. When I came back from India, was the first time in my whole career where I genuinely felt I had this Australian public's support, full support, yeah. In my whole career.
Even after the 2015 World Cup, the 100 in a Test match, being out there in the T20 World Cup win? Really?
Yeah, first time.
So what is it like then to polarise? Because I don't see the polarising because I'm privileged enough to know you. So I've got a general understanding of what type of person you are as well as what type of cricketer you are. And for me, every time I go to a game of cricket where I know you're playing, you're the reason that I'm excited to go to cricket because you're a bums on seats man. And I don't say that lightly. We go to the cricket. You're playing on Monday. And it's a Fox cricket game against Pakistan. This will be out by then. And I will go, and Vaughnie will go, and Gilly will go, and Kerry will go, and we'll all sit there thinking, Maxi's playing today. This is outstanding. So I don't see the polarisation. But what is it like to polarise as the way you've described it in your mind anyway?
Well, that's the thing. I probably don't get sucked into that too much. Like, I've never really been too harsh on myself how others sort of see me. It's never been a bother to me. Like,
good.
I know how I'm perceived in my team, and that's probably taken a bit more time to mature and grow, and with understanding my role on the side over the last few years has been really consistent and really structured, and to feel the comfort of your teammates, the comfort of your coaches, selectors and all that sort of stuff, that's probably made everything else probably almost not matter. Mm-hmm. I talk about the things that I don't worry with myself with things that don't matter, and that's one of the things I can't handle and I can't worry about.
It's a learnt skill though, that, isn't it? I think it is a learnt skill to only worry about the controllables.
Well, that's one of the things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And I was talking about this earlier, that there's so many things in Wadey's retirement chat the other day that I read through that and I was like, yeah, there's a lot of like key learnings that wish I had done this when I was younger, but I'm really proud of the way I went about it. And there's obviously room for growth, that we all, I suppose, evolve and have families and grow up to, I suppose, become slightly tempered people, like slightly tapered. And I think that's just all part of just being comfortable in your own skin. And for a lot of my international career, I probably wasn't that comfortable in my own skin. I felt like I was being judged consistently, not just by the public, maybe by other people as well, where I found that really uncomfortable.
In some ways, I think you're like all the truly elite operators, you're judged by what you can do, because what you can do is such a high ceiling. And when we go to the game to watch you, you can't make 201 not out every time. But when we've seen you do it, the average person on the street's like, oh, you know, I went to see Maxi, he didn't make runs today. But it's because you're judged to a higher level, because you're like a Gilly or a Warney, where people are coming to the game just to watch you, which is a tremendous credit in some ways, but it must be a tough cross to bear as well.
It is. I was actually having this conversation with Chris Rogers about ceiling and floors of different people coming through and how...
Now, I love Bucky, but he was not a bums on seats man.
But he's also one of those guys who probably didn't have the highest ceiling, but it's pretty safe to say he got everything.
Absolutely everything.
Scored test hundreds, a bazillion first-class hundreds. He had an unbelievable career. But this is the Mark Waugh, Steve Waugh conundrum. Steve Waugh, we see him as a fighter, and he was so tough, and he got everything out of his ability. And you look at Mark Waugh, and he was so beautiful and graceful. Oh, why did he get out? That's the same as Rogers and Maxwell. But you're both still doing your best. We're both still putting the same effort in.
Yes.
We're still trying our best. We're still trying to win the game for our side and I suppose have success. But it just doesn't always happen that way. There's probably so many different thoughts going in my head compared to his, and my options were quite varied of what I could potentially do out in the middle, where Bucky was really limited and was able to sort of stay within those parameters for most of his career, and which is why he had so much success.
Yes.
He was so selective and so stubborn in what he was going to, I suppose, have a go at, like play, leave, defend, whatever it might be. And he was able to stick to a really simple game plan for a bloody long time.
But you can reverse sweep over backward square for six. So that comes into the equation, where for Bucky it doesn't. Now, talking about getting exciting, any man that opens his book with two forwards, two intros, and the first bloke that writes the forward is Pat Cummins, and then you just drop in Virat Kohli, it's a nice way to start a book, Maxi. I'm fascinated by the relationship and the man that is Virat Kohli, because I can remember games of cricket of you earlier. I think Virat refers to it in the forward, saying, when I didn't know Glenn as a person, we were both hyper competitive. We probably weren't two dudes that got on. And this is the beauty that people don't understand of the IPL. You've been playing with Virat Kohli for the last number of extra years at RCB. Tell me about Virat Kohli as a person and his life in India that you see. We'll get to your life in India, but his life.
So Virat is one guy who I feel I've got a great relationship with, and that's the coming together of the stages of our lives, the things that we've been through over our careers, timing, and the fact that we're both just comfortable in our own skins to be open to each other. And that first year at RCB, we spent so much time together off the field and then around the training track that we just became really, really tight, and we were able to be really open and honest with our vulnerabilities, like talking about cricket technique, life, all that sort of stuff. And I'm glad I wasn't at RCB sooner for that reason, that we were able to be at that stage of our lives to, I suppose, develop a friendship where we were both really comfortable enough to be open. Maybe 5 or 6 years before that, I probably wasn't at that stage, and maybe he probably wasn't either. He was super high competitive, much the same as me. We clashed a fair bit on the field, and it just probably took to that time for us to just be so comfortable with each other. And the stuff that I've seen from him off the field, what he goes through over there day by day, I don't know how he does it.
Try and explain it. Try and give people an understanding, people that haven't travelled to India.
We had a training session where me and him both went reasonably early to training, got all our stuff done. I think it was an optional session, so we both got our stuff done, batted together, batted for a while, finished up and said, can we get a car back to the hotel just so we can go get dinner or whatever, make sure it's an earlier night. So we jumped in a car. Immediately, alarm bells are going off in my head. Like, this is probably not a good idea. Where's the security? Like, we had a security in that in the front seat of the car. We had a car behind us full of police. As we're driving out of Chinnaswamy Stadium, people notice that Virat's in the car and just start punching on the windows, like beating up this car, like trying to like get his attention and get him to look at them. Like, not even just like waving. I'm surprised the car just didn't have dents all over it, because they were just banging on this car, and I was like, this is so uncomfortable. How can people make you feel like this? It's just, and I was just looking at him, I was like, how do you deal with this on a day-to-day basis? And he sort of just shrugged it off. It's like, it's just what I go through. It's a scary way for him to live, but obviously where he lives is quite far out of, I suppose, Main Street, Mumbai, and
Have a decent pad, wouldn't he?
yeah, he's got a nice little place. He loves showing it off and like different like things that are going on in his place, and but yeah, I to sort of see that firsthand, it was a bit heartbreaking. Like sort of watching it, I was like, I couldn't do that.
It looks like a zoo, doesn't it?
I just couldn't go through that. Like, it's just so high stress all the time, and when's your time just to relax, play on the phone, like call family, like while you're in the car on the way back? None of that. Like, had to just literally keep his head down and just not pay any attention to it. And it was loud. Like, and they wouldn't let the car go anywhere. So the car was boxed out. The cop had to get out and basically just start whacking people with a stick. It was awful.
Maxi, I remember at an IPL 2 years ago that I was trying to get into the gym in the morning and it was locked up. And there's a security with an enormous gun. He said, no. And gym closed. I was pretty keen to do some exercise, and I saw Virat was in there by himself, which is why they closed it. And I said, mate, I'm a guest, blah, blah, blah. And they eventually let me in. I just left him to be, said g'day. He was doing massive buddy squats, and I was doing these little pissy beach weights. But then when I went to leave, they wouldn't let me leave in case someone dashed through the door. So I had to wait for him to finish before I was. People have.
How long did he go for?
And a fair bit longer than me. I'll give you that, Jimmy. He's a powerful, powerful man. Cricket. Where does cricket first come across you? How old are you? Who are you playing for? We'll get to your backyard setup in a moment. But when did you first play a proper game of cricket, organised cricket?
Played my first game for South Belgrave Juniors as a 7-year-old in our under 12s.
Under 12s, okay.
I remember the ground. It was in Knox somewhere.
Right.
I remember we won, and we tried to do a lap after we won it, like pretending we were celebrating to the crowd. And we got halfway and then just ran straight back over the field.
Do you remember whether you batted or bowled?
I reckon I got a duck.
Right.
I reckon I got a duck.
Started with a duck.
It was only up from there.
But it wouldn't have been off 20 balls. It would have been a quick duck.
My first year, I reckon my high score was 10.
Right.
I reckon I got 3 or 4 ducks. I was 7. Like I thought 7's pretty young.
Against the under 12s.
Against the under 12s.
Against the hard ball. Were you from the start? Obviously, you weren't the batsman we see now, but were you always an aggressor?
It's interesting because, like, in all junior cricket, obviously I scored faster. I played seniors at a really young age.
How old?
I was 11 when I played my first seniors game.
Was that like local?
It was our 3rd grade at South Belgrave.
How'd you go?
I reckon I got about, I think it was 19 not out, batted at 3.
Okay. Ink. Red ink.
Yeah,
good.
got ink. We were 1 down. Chased them down. Our opening batter got like 50 odd off like 25 balls or something. Right. I remember that. But yeah, I was a wicket keeper.
Were you?
In our 3rd grade, yeah. And I absolutely loved it. Like, played in a premiership I think it was that year or the year after. And in our 4th 11, we got a few more senior teams. The best thing about when I played as an 11-year-old, it sort of probably opened the door up for a lot of our juniors to go, oh, hold on, we can play Saturday afternoon. So there's a lot more juniors the following year that played seniors that didn't really know it was possible. and to sort of get the opportunity to play and help their junior stuff as well. So as soon as I played senior cricket, I was like, I feel so much better equipped for rep cricket, other junior cricket. So I played above a grade as many years as I possibly could, and loved that challenge. I never really played my own year level, and I think that helped make me a better player along the way.
Did you have, I'm sure you did, but tell me about a dominant Glenn Maxwell junior performance. No time for hiding your bushel here.
We played in a semi-final in the under-17s.
Yep.
I was playing Premier Cricket at the time, and this was the first game where I didn't have a restriction on how long I could stay for the game, and got myself to 64, I think it was, opening the batting, and then hit 6 sixes in an over to bring up my 100.
To bring up your 100?
To bring up my 100.
Oh, no.
So I didn't know I was on 64 because there's no scoreboard or anything. I didn't know I was on 64, but as soon as I hit the 6th six, I just raised my arms, and then they brought me off because I'd retired on 100. So it was 100 red.
There'll be a bloke running around Victoria, Melbourne, telling people to this day, yeah, I got hit by Glenn Maxwell.
Cam Ralston, his
name
is.
Oh, you named him!
Yeah.
Poor old Cam's tuning in. He's like, no.
Cam Ralston from Roval.
What was he sending down?
Medium pace.
Right.
Actually, wasn't that bad. I think he'd actually bowled a couple of good overs up until then.
Oh, poor old Cam Ralston.
But I remember there was a lot of the seniors were sort of sitting up on the hill at South Borough watching the game and losing it, like with every six, like going nuts. And when the 6th one went over, like it was a pretty cool feeling. And my dad, I think, was square leg umpire at the time, and just sitting there clapping, and that was a pretty cool moment. And I was fortunate enough to, I suppose, be in and out of South Belgrave around that time and give a fair bit back to the club and do a bit of coaching with I think I was coaching our under-11s for a couple of years, the first couple of years at the under-11s, and forever grateful for the opportunities they gave me.
Backyard. Describe I don't know much of your family. I don't know if you got brothers or sisters or you were playing with mates. What was the backyard setup? Who were you playing with and what was it all about?
Older brother, older sister.
Okay. Names?
Daniel and Lisa. Lisa's the oldest. Brother is probably the odd one out in the family. He was Ducks of Year 12, very intelligent.
He's the odd one out.
The odd one out.
Way too intelligent. Family.
Quick-witted, like everything. Like he's a very funny man. He was my challenge in the backyard.
So tell me about the backyard. What was the setup? What were the wickets, runs, hit certain areas?
As you can imagine, in South Borough, we had a bit of space out the back. Bit of a slope in the hills. So the wickets sort of sloped top to bottom, but we were sort of across it.
Yep.
Just to give us a bit more room to bowl. And we had a trampoline as the automatic wicky. And there was like a little patch just short of a half volley that was sort of bare and sort of caved out. So if it hit that, it literally went anywhere. It was 6 and out, but there was 2 trees behind the bowler's arm, which if you got it between that, it was double. So
double.
Yeah, so you're always trying to hit that. We had a basketball ring just above the bowler's arm, and there was numerous rules if we got it through that. So there was like a lot of caught and bowls because we were trying to hit it through the basketball ring. There was a fair bit of arrogance in a few of our shots, trying to like maximise every ball, and a lot of trying to take the mickey out of like legends of the game. Practice their run ups in the back. Merv Hughes got a pretty good run.
Who was your hero?
Probably punter.
Right.
Punter. Love watching Mark Waugh, Gilchrist, Ponting. I still wear a wristband because of Michael Clarke on debut in India when he got that 150.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the guys I used to love watching play. Mike Hussey, when he, who I was really inspired by the way, like his latter half of his career to stick out that long, and I think that was something that I really watched and went, that's awesome that he's got to that stage. He was so pumped and amped to get his opportunity for Australia so late in his career, and he just it looked like he made every post a winner after that, and it was so good to watch. And he sort of revolutionised the sort of tempo of batting around that period at the back end as well. Even with the older ball, he was able to I suppose, use his hands and skill to still find boundaries in a different way. But even not being the biggest bloke, still find the swing and ability to clear the rope. And myself, not being the biggest guy, I sort of watched that and went, all right, there's a way to find boundaries without being obviously the biggest hitter or or look like Andrew Simons where you have to muscle it over. So he was someone who I watched pretty closely.
So at what age, Maxi, does the potential to be a professional cricketer start raising itself in your mind as a viable option for a job?
It's a good question because I had cricket and footy, I suppose, going like every young person does.
Just tell us a bit about your footy then. What, describe yourself, compare yourself to a modern AFL footballer. No time for modesty, Maxi.
I was a really good runner. So I was a cross country runner all the way through high school. Absolutely loved running. And I'd get the ball on the wing and I'd run all day. I was pretty good off half back. Loved a goal. But yeah, I ran all day.
You haven't made the AFL player comparison.
Look, I think it'd be rude to the AFL player, whoever I compared. Look, maybe like a Jack Sinclair. I think that sort of player off half back.
Okay.
Like to set the play up. But I probably use both sides of my body a fair bit. I used to love running around on my left and using that side.
So footy and cricket were both viable alternatives?
Yeah, I thought so when I was a young player. And then I got a few injuries when I was about probably 13 or 14 where other boys probably got a bit bigger and I didn't really grow as much and decided to take a few years off and concentrate on cricket. And I played a few other sports like basketball, tennis, kept myself fit, still umpired footy to keep my running going and loved it and was able to sort of stay fit while I was still trying to further my cricket. And then it got to, I missed out on the Vic 17s both years, bottom age and top age, and it was a bit of a setback, missed out bottom age 19s again. And I was like, maybe it's not quite working out the way I thought. Like I'm a bit behind where I really want to be. And despite doing really well at a lot of junior carnivals, in the lead and run scorers all the time, just wasn't quite nailing that next step. And I went back and played another year of footy at under 18s for South Belrive again and had a great year, like enjoyed it so much, won the BNF. And I was like, this might be something I might want to pursue. And then following year I went to England. And this is a really good story in the book where I went over with my brother and he was able to, I suppose, teach me how to grow up. I hadn't really been away from home for more than a couple of weeks, and it was a massive learning experience. Taught me through a few things, and that was probably the first time I had a brush with depression over there, and I was so grateful to have my brother over there to, I suppose, help me through that stage. And didn't really understand what was happening at that time, but was able to, I suppose, get through that trip and came back, had an amazing year of club cricket and got contracted the following year. So that was the end of footy.
So in a hurry in many ways, you're going through Victoria and you're playing the Ford Ranger or what was it you were playing? What was it called?
It was Ford. I reckon it was Ford Ranger the first year.
Yeah.
Maybe Ryobi, Matador.
Yeah. Matador.
JLT.
You could have been a Matador man.
There was my debut was the final, the one-day final.
For Victoria?
Yeah.
Came in as a debutant?
Debut in the final.
What type of Victorians are playing in the team?
I remember would have been Hodge, White, Hussey.
Oh, wow.
McDonald, Wade, Finch, Hastings, Darren Pattinson.
Oh, you've gone through the whole lot, huh? It's a good memory. Who are you
Bryce McGain.
Who are you playing against? Or the leggy? Who are you up against?
Tassie.
Tassie.
I reckon I got out to Jared Denton. Caught it long on.
Right.
As you do.
As you do, Maxi.
So I think we were 7 down and we needed like 8 and over and we were cooked.
So you didn't win it.
We didn't win that one. But it was nice to make my debut and I suppose get the opportunity to play for Victoria, and probably wasn't. It was probably before I was ready. But yeah, it was nice to get that opportunity.
How do you find out you're going to play for Australia for the first time? I've got a few notes here. So it was on the 25th of April 2012, a one-day versus Afghanistan in Sharjah.
Not many Australians have made their debut against Afghanistan. I was the first.
Not in Sharjah either. So before you find out your debut, is this the first time you've gone away with a senior Australian team?
It is.
What's the experience like?
Pretty surreal.
Are you looking at blokes you had posters of on the wall type stuff?
Yeah. And really uncomfortable.
Talk me through it.
So, Mike Hussey and Michael Clark were in that side.
Wow.
Two guys who I'd idolised, I suppose, growing up, and had watched their careers so closely. And I still sort of felt like a kid in that side. I remember I was still watching them on TV and going, oh, that'd be cool one day. And when I got the call...
Is it a phone call?
It's a phone. I think it was a phone call and an email. But I was in England playing. Well, I wasn't even playing. I was 12th man for Hampshire in a one-day game because Simon Cage was the overseas. So I always used to try and be 12th man because I just wanted to be around the team, help out as much as I could, get some more experience, hang around the guys, and end the day. And the phone I had. So I had a phone that had my English stuff on it, and I had something on it. So I had to go to my car to get a different phone, connect to the Wi-Fi to sort of find something else. And the times back then, 2012, find the internet and sort of call this number back. So I didn't even have it saved. And it was Johnny and Verity. Huh. And he goes, oh, g'day, Glenn. Just letting you know.
So you didn't know it's Johnny Verity you're calling back?
No, had no idea.
You got to go lift when he said...
It was call me back, call me back, call me back.
Right.
You
would have got a lift.
Obviously, got a message that it's Johnny Verity. Right. Call me back, and I was like, "Rightio, better call him back."
I will do that.
And I didn't know what was coming up. I didn't know if there was an A series or something else going on. I had no idea. And when I got the phone call, instantly in my mind, I thought, "My brother's playing another prank on me." I feel like this is a really hard voice to copy. I was like, how has he changed his name to Johnny Verity? I don't understand. How does he know what he sounds like? So I couldn't believe it. And anyway, yeah, thanks. You're going to be a part of the Australian ODI and T20 squad that's going to Dubai and playing against Afghanistan and Pakistan. I was like, that's amazing, great. Details will be sent in an email soon. No worries. And I went back in the change room, and Giles White, the coach at Hampshire at the time, and he goes, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "I've just been selected to play for Australia." And he gave me a hug and he goes, "Mate, that's unbelievable. That's amazing news. Do you mind if I tell the boys?" And I was like, "Yeah, not a problem." So we got in the huddle, about to sing the song, and he goes, "Guys, just let you know, one of our players has been selected to play for their country." And everyone's sort of looking around the circle going, "Oh, maybe James Vince has been picked to play
the great Sydney Sixer."
And it's like, Maxi, good luck. And everyone went nuts. It was such a cool experience to share that with a team. It was my first professional gig in county cricket, and Hampshire were unbelievable in sort of accommodating me, my time over there. And I owe them a fair bit that they gave me enough opportunities over there where I was able to, I suppose, showcase a bit of my game and learn a lot of things over there with Caddo as the other overseas in the T20 stuff. But I had a great time over there, and it was quite funny because I was actually playing a bit of pub cricket during the week when I wasn't playing for Hampshire or wasn't doing anything else. I went from pub cricket to playing for Australia in about a month and a half. So that was it was always quite funny, and the experience I had over in the UAE was incredible.
How many matches did you have to play for Australia till you felt like you were a part of the team and comfortable in the team? I lulled myself into probably feeling comfortable at different times. But I think now, probably over the last 12 months, I've started to feel a bit more comfortable. Last 12 months?
Yeah.
You started in 2012.
I'm aware.
Oh, no doubt you're aware. So
this is the thing. So I've been in and out of the side a fair bit over my career. I've never been understand I've never been first picked. I've never been, I suppose, 100% reliable in, I suppose, my role. It's a difficult role because the ups and downs can be quite severe. And
It's literally hit or miss your role.
yeah, it is, yeah. And I think that 2015 World Cup, the success I had there, and 12 months later to be out of the one-day side, that was quite hard to take. So there was times where it sort of fluctuated where I was so frustrated because I was trying to, I suppose, showcase what I was able to do, but probably not what the team needed at the time, and sort of that was to my detriment. I wasn't able to. I wasn't able to, I suppose, read game situations as well as I'd probably do in the last couple of years, where early days I'd go out there, try and hit the first few as hard as I could and hopefully get through that, and I'd be okay, and I'd find the rhythm of the game and then catch up that way. But as you get older, you sort of find ways to just keep yourself in the game as long as you possibly can, and then catch up later, where probably wasn't the case early days. I tried to get myself to 20 off 10 as quick as I could and then go from there.
We could, I always use the comparison, Maxi, to Kelly Slater, that when he came on this show, we could have asked him about all his 11 world titles and it would take 6 hours and we would hear about nothing but surfing. And I want to hear about more than just cricket with you. So I don't want to spend too much time bogged down on too many innings, but I want to ask you some. You made your first 100 in that World Cup against Sri Lanka. It was like off 60 odd balls or something. You smacked them, I think. But then
50.
Sorry, Glenn.
2 or 1?
Okay, here we go. 51. Sorry,
yeah.
At the SCG, 51 balls. But then you won the World Cup with your great mate old Finchy at the MCG. One of my great memories of that, watching cricket. What's it like to lift a World Cup with your mate at your home ground? And you're smiling about it now.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. Like that's a career highlight. Like there's 2 or 3 that are right up there, and that's pretty close to the top. I think it's probably a bit different because we were favourites probably the whole way through, where the 2021 T20 World Cup, we'd sort of been written off and we were able to, I suppose, find a way to win that. And that was really special, being Australia's first. But I think everything that sort of went into that 2015 World Cup, and there's a fair bit, I suppose, written in the book about the journey through then, and to be world champions almost so early in my career was that 3rd year in.
At home.
In
front of 100,000.
At home with Finchy, who was I living with him then? No, I reckon I'd just moved out. But yeah, it was amazingly special, like, to be able to share that with him. He's been one of my closest mates since we started playing for Australia together, and extremely grateful that we shared a long career together.
What was he like as a housemate, old Finchy boy?
He was good.
Would he the same about you?
No, he always used to lie and say I was really messy, which is an absolute joke. He'd always just try and find an excuse to spray me, which is fair.
That's the relationship you two have.
That's the relationship we have. Like, there's always, like, we're looking for an excuse to go hard at each other.
Yes.
Which used to happen on the field as well. Like, even when I was bowling, like, trying to set a field, we'd just be going hammer and tine at each other. And the opposition would get really uncomfortable, like, not understanding what's going on here. They even realise we're here. But yeah, we just used to get the best out of each other, and get under each other's skin as much as we possibly could. And we had some good run-ins, but we were always 5 minutes away from being best mates again. So the rest of the change room didn't really understand it, but it was fine to us. And I spoke to Hads about it the other day. He was like, it was uncomfortable because me and Pup used to go, we need to have a meeting about this. There's a spot fire. We need to, like, sort this out. We need to sit these 2 blokes down and sort them out. And then he'd turn around and look at us, and we're both going out for dinner together, holding hands and having a beer together. Yeah. It's like, we don't understand this relationship. Like, and no one else did. And but yeah, we were just incredibly close, and I suppose able to take what we'd probably copped in the Victorian change room as 2 young players and channel that into anger at each other.
What does Test cricket mean to you, Glenn? It's a long-running theme in your career.
It is. It's one of those things that it's meant everything that I've been able to achieve what I have in the game, regardless of Test cricket. The fact that I was able to earn a baggy green probably before I'd potentially deserved it.
2015?
2013, I made my debut in Hyderabad.
In India, okay.
And that was probably ahead of time, but...
Did anyone give you your cap?
Yep, Matthew Hayden gave me my cap.
And what did the moment mean?
It was pretty incredible. He spoke for about 7 minutes, and I could not tell you one thing he said.
Can talk, the big man.
He can talk, the DOS.
What a legend.
Funny, he actually shared a flight together back from Dallas, and it was a funny flight. My God, we did not stop talking the whole time. It was much like the speech. Like we were both just like reeling off story by story at each other. It was great fun. But yeah, I could not tell you one thing he said in that speech. I was literally just looking at the baggy green in his hand. I was like, just give it to me. I want it on my head. Like I just want to wear it. I just want to wear it. Like, come on. That was a special moment. But as I said, I hadn't played a lot of first class cricket or red ball cricket. First class cricket at that stage where I didn't really know what I was doing. When I got picked in 2014, I'd played a little bit more and I sort of knew. When I finally got my next chance in 2017, I had a really good grip on how I wanted to go about it as a long format player. And I think that's one thing about my Test career I'm really proud of, that I've been dropped and out of the squad a couple of times, but I've always been able to sort of find a way back and shown some like really good resilience to sort of find a way back and not sort of lose hope. And yes, it would have been great to play 100 Test matches, score 30 hundreds and have all that. But I've had a really amazing career where I've been able to do some pretty cool things, be a part of some amazing teams, and I probably wouldn't change it.
So what does being a Test centurion mean to you? I think when, were you the second person to have scored 100 in all three formats? And I don't know if it was behind Davey or behind Watto. Yeah, it was probably Watto.
Watto was the only one.
Yep.
Then Davey scored 100 against Sri Lanka at Adelaide Oval in 2019.
Right.
To join us.
So what does it mean to you, that innings in Ranchi?
That was pretty special. I enjoy sort of telling stories around that tour.
Please do.
The fact that I was over there more as a backup, just in case someone went down, and I thoroughly enjoyed all the training sessions, the stuff we were doing around the squad. We won that first Test in Pune, and the whole group was so tight throughout that. Like we were, I suppose, just supporting each other for what we knew was going to be a really tough tour, and to get that first win after an unbelievable 100 from Smudge. He might have been dropped a couple of times, but he says it's one of his most special hundreds. It was one of the worst wickets ever. And the fact that we were able to, I suppose, beat India on that pitch and have success. Sock gets 12. It was just an amazing tour. And I think the hard thing for that was obviously Mitch getting injured. I did a night for Merv's tour group, and it was me and Buff. And they asked
a night on tour.
Yeah, during the tour, we sort of went and sort of spoke to him, and they asked me about Test cricket and what it means, and I just said, if I ever get another opportunity, I will cherish it with everything. It means the world to me. Blah blah blah. And I spoke really from the heart about the chance. If I ever get another chance, it would just mean the world to me. I was pretty open and honest, and felt like when I got my opportunity, they were sort of involved in that journey. So when I got my 100, post the day's play, they all came up to me, the tour group, and all just like wrapped their arms around me. They were crying. They were like,
"That's cool, mate." They
were part of the journey, and that was what was really special about that. It just felt like it. When I got that 100, there was a lot of people that were like, "That's just, we're so glad." They were actually so glad and so happy for me. It wasn't where I'd had negativity in my career, where we talk about the ups and downs of social media. It wasn't. There was none of that. It was actually so much overwhelming positivity, and to finish that tour and not get away with a series win was really hard.
So obviously Australia goes to Sri Lanka for a couple of tests in February, and I've already read the headlines. Is Maxwell a chance to go? Does Maxwell think Maxwell's a chance to go? And obviously Maxwell would love to go.
I would love to go. Don't get me wrong, I'd absolutely jump at the opportunity to get the baggy green out again and go over there. But I've said that whether I go or I don't, it's not going to decide whether my
No, of course not.
career's
Mate, it's a ridiculously amazing, glittering career.
I think if I gave myself the best chance to be around the conversation, I'd be really proud of that. I think if I got over there on the plane and I was part of the squad and I didn't get my opportunity, I'd still be okay. I think I'd just love to be around that test squad and to be able to, I suppose, prepare and have that feeling again. Like the 22 series in Sri Lanka, that was one of the hardest chapters to like write and talk about because I felt like I'd built up to a stage where no, I'm going to play. Like I'd already played it in my mind. This is how I'm going to go about it, blah, blah, blah. And then to walk in the door of the day of the test, and as you're walking in, about to start preparing, it's the tap on the shoulder going, sorry, mate, you've missed out.
Who says that to you?
I can't remember if it was Ronnie.
So the coach.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, I can't remember.
And how do you process that, knowing you're going into a team environment that need positive vibes?
So I basically just went, I was devastated. And I just went, I've got to put all my energy and all my thoughts into helping these guys prepare. So I basically just got up, went straight to the nets, start bowling, throwing, doing whatever I could to help the guys prepare. And I just had to distract myself. I just thought I was going to cry. I felt so emotional about it. And I just went, I've got to find a way to help these guys as much as I can, distract myself and put all my energy into that. And I remember looking over at Colo, who was by the nets, and he was looking at me, and I just shook my head, and I could feel his heart break from where I was, and that was hard to sort of, I suppose, watch as well. I felt like I had a lot of people on the journey with me there, and it was a really heartbreaking series to be before that series, not thinking I was a chance to be on that tour, to getting told, no, you're going to be sticking around for the test series, and then the build-up with Hetty and his, I think, hamstring at that time, missed that test, and then the second test going, no, Maxi's good chance of playing, like 95% chance of playing, and then just get the tap on the shoulder before that on day one, and, yeah, devastating.
India. I want to talk to you about India and your relationship with the country and the love for you, but when are you first in an IPL auction?
First in the auction in 2012.
What did you go for in 2012?
I was unsold.
Right.
Unsold, and I started uni at the same time. I was at Vic Uni studying Bachelor of Education.
Okay.
Primary.
This I didn't know.
I got through one semester. It was, I'm going to say, unsuccessful that semester.
Okay, so you didn't get through one semester.
I'm going to say I didn't get through it.
You turned up for one semester.
I turned up. I did one subject. I didn't even finish that.
Okay.
But yeah, I had all the all the interests of like, I'm going to do this slowly, I'm going to take my time, I'm going to have this on the side. And I got the call probably towards the back end that I was going to be coming over as a replacement player for the Delhi Daredevils at the start of the tournament. I can't remember who was in. It might have been Moses that might have been injured. So I was going to go over and replace him. So I was on, I think it was 50 grand, which after taxes, the time you spend over there in a big hotel, probably come home with negative.
Yeah. I've worked those room service numbers.
Yeah. It's but it was an unbelievable experience. I played the first two games of the tournament. Thought, how good's this? Like, didn't even expect to play, but none of the big boys had turned up. And then the second after the second game, everyone turned up, and I was, I'm going to say 11th or 12th overseas on the list.
Okay.
So I was well and truly down the pecking order. And after a couple of weeks, they said, look, it's clear you're probably not going to be playing. If you've got anywhere, if you want to go home or you get somewhere else. And I was like, I can go to England. And that's when I went to Hampshire and started earlier with them. So had options, but it was a great first experience. 2013.
The Mumbai Indians becoming the most expensive purchase at the auction, commanding a price of US $1 million. What's the big? This is I don't normally ask wages, but yours is a public record space. What's the biggest price you've gone for in an IPL auction?
I think I went for 2.6 or 7 for RCB when they picked me up.
Million US dollars?
I think it was Oz.
Okay.
Not really sure.
So tell me a story about sitting and watching or playing cricket and being told that all of a sudden your life is changing with that amount of money. And you deserve every single cent, and probably with the amount of money the IPL is making, the players deserve a higher because they get a small percentage in relation to other sports, but that's probably not an area for you to wander into, Maxi. But that's a statistic that I've seen over the years. Compare it to the NFL or the NBA or even cricket here in Australia. Tell me a story about your life changing due to cricket and the IPL, financially changing.
Well, I specifically remember being in England in 2013, and I went to the ATM to get some money out, and the balance came up on the screen, and I genuinely panicked. Like, so I'd never seen that amount of money before.
Never seen a 7-figure pop up.
It was 6 figures at that amount, and I was like, I absolutely shit myself.
It's not my account.
I was like, I don't know what's happened here, and I called back home, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I do with this money? And then I got home, and Clint Mackay organised for me to see a financial advisor. We were pretty close, and he helped me out finding someone in that space, and basically talked about what I wanted to do with my money. And I think that was the big transition, was being at a point where I was able to put my money in places where I had no idea what I was doing with it. I never imagined I'd sort of have that. I think when you think about money growing up, you're like, I'll just buy a house with a bunch of cash and hopefully everything's sorted, and then you get a car and everything else should just fall in place. But even when
you were growing up, the IPL wasn't there to all of a sudden. So what is it like to watch an auction where you're going up 1.5, 2? Like, are you detached from it? Are you jumping around your lounge room? It's because it's so random. It could be 400,000 or it could be 2.5 million. Just like a house, if two teams want you, it can go anywhere, anytime.
Yeah,
we've seen it with Cam Green or Pat Cummins or Starkey or yourself.
It's pretty amazing. And I think when teams work out they need or want something, they'll just keep going for it. It's the numbers don't really matter all that much to them. Obviously, they've got a cap that they've got to stay under, but if they think they desperately need something in their list, or that's the one hole that they need to fill, they'll go as hard as they need to for it. And that was the amazing thing, I suppose, with Starkey and Camo last year when they changed the fast bowling or the bowling laws to 2 bounce and over. Everyone was looking for high speed, high pace. The 2 Aussie boys coming into that auction was perfect timing because everyone was looking for that type of thing. We had Alzari Joseph and Lockie Ferguson go for good money for RCB as well. So there was just plenty of fast bowlers that were just getting sold off for heaps of money just because of the change of laws. And
I remember AB telling me that he'd figured out that Mitchell Starc was getting paid more per ball in the IPL per ball than AB got in a test match.
It's pretty incredible.
It's amazing.
It's pretty incredible.
But there's a lot of money in the game, so it needs to go to the athletes. So what is the IPL experience like for you? I remember having breakfast with you in a hotel room somewhere. Down in the foyer, off to the little side restaurant, and you struck me as, and I always try and say this to people, you struck me as a prisoner in the hotel. But I know you love India as a place. So how do you balance seeing and meeting and engaging with, if you walk out the front door of the hotel, it's like a Rolling Stones concert and Mick Jagger's just walked out.
Yeah, it's certainly difficult. You've just got to be so careful. Like, you've got to be so careful over there because you can't go out. Like, I think that's just the answer. You just can't go out. You've just got to probably keep yourself locked away. Plan heavily if you're going to go out for dinner somewhere. Make sure that
what's that involve?
Calling ahead to the restaurant, having security organised from your car to the front door, and
literally from the car to the front door.
Yeah, otherwise it's chaotic, and it's an amazing place to tour, but it can be incredibly difficult. You can get cabin fever pretty quickly over there by just locking yourself away in the room and not really wanting to expose yourself up, because it can be so confronting, where people are just want a piece of you, like non-stop, and it's not just one person. If it's one or two people at breakfast, it's not a problem. But if it's one or two people and 50 other people see those one or two people get the courage up first, then they'll come over, and then that 50 soon become 1,000 pretty fast.
In the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's. I did a clinic over there for Adam Crosswade over there and Andrew Walton. They had a cricket academy going on over there, so I went over as a guest and sort of taught him a few things with the skill tester, or skill master. Probably should get that right. And we're doing some demonstrations, talking through a few of my experience, like cricket experience and life experiences. And when I tried to leave, it was almost impossible. Like trying to get through a herd of people, and they wouldn't let me leave. So like the coaches had to sort of try and get up and barricade, and like the kids are just trying to barge them down, and it was hard to watch, even just trying to like get back to the car safely, because it went from being a really controlled, enjoyable environment talking about cricket to like fever pitch craziness, and I felt really uncomfortable because I would have happily signed autographs, done some photos, done all that, but there's no way to control them. Like they just get way too overexcited, and they want to touch and grab, and then if one person does it, then 50 other people come and do it. Like there's no lining up, there's no like process to patience, like just one straight line, we're all good. No, there's none of that. So it's really hard to get order there. It's it's hard to sort of get any sort of structure in place to sort of make it easy to do something like that.
Well, I think it was during the World Cup, saying to Finchie, we had a couple of days in Kolkata. I said, let's go out. He said, 20 years, I can't go out and about. I said, mate, put your hat on, put your sunnies on, you're not playing anymore. And to see the joy on his, like a lot of people came up to him, Maxi, but to see the joy on his face that he could get out and about and walk and see all these things. And he's like, mate, I only see this on the way to the hotel and the ground in the bus. To actually see him experience that was brilliant. So when you are in the hotel scenario and you're going from the training to the game to the hotel, and you're on the other side of the world and you're not with family and friends and you're not making runs. You mentioned your first experience with mental health with your brother in England. What happens to you in that scenario?
Well, it can go...
It's a big, deep breath.
Yeah. It can go down a couple of different ways. I think you either throw yourself really hard into your training, try and distract yourself, or try and go the other way. Go, I'm going to get away from the game. I'm going to go play golf as much as I possibly can, get out to different restaurants and try and distract myself. But trying to find a balance there while you're so far away from friends and family is really hard to, I suppose, keep that constant, I suppose, chatter up with back home, and with everyone's life still going on back here while you're in India trying to hit a cricket ball around. And I think early days I found that really difficult. Whenever I went through a lean patch over there, I found it really hard to, because as well, we finish a game at 11:30 midnight. And
I don't know how you sleep after those games. Just the crowd and the energy and the atmosphere and the intensity of it.
It's rare you get to bed before 3:30, 4 a.m., even with the come down after the game, because a lot of the Indians will sit around after the game, eat their food, relax, chill out, go chat to each other, and before you know it, it's 1 a.m. and it's like, oh, can we just get back to the hotel so we can go to bed?
Yeah. It's West Indian hours.
Yeah, so it's like there's a long cool down after the game where there's just not much happening, and then you sort of probably, if you had a tough game, you're thinking about that nonstop. It's really hard to switch off, and before you know it, the next day's basically gone, and probably with the revolving doors of games, you probably get a game the next day. So it can catch up on you really quickly, where before you know it, half the tournament's gone.
So what have you learned about mental health, and how does it manifest, and how have you learned to work your way through it, Maxi? Because you've had times where you've moved away from the game, I presume for those type of reasons.
Yeah, I think I found a way to identify key times when some certain thoughts are going through my head, which I know.
What type of thoughts?
Self-doubt, like overriding negativity, maybe anger rising at weird times, not having like the same reaction as normally would be expected of me at certain points, and I'm able to, I suppose, sort of step on that and go, right, that was a bit wrong, and I'll first and foremost, I'll go have a chat to someone. It could be anyone. It'll be someone who I trust or knows me quite well, and then I'll be able to almost put that on them, not for feedback, but just to be able to get it out. As soon as I sort of speak the words to someone and sort of have it out there, it's almost like it's not like I'm passing the buck. It's like I'm just letting you know what's going on, and it's almost like then you start the conversation of, oh yeah, I've sort of felt like that, and then oh, I've never felt like that. What's been happening like? And then you sort of start that conversation where it sort of opens you up a little bit. It sort of makes you a bit more vulnerable, and I've found that opening up to that vulnerability helps me, I suppose, deal with those sorts of things a bit better. And it's not something that's ever going to completely disappear. I think it's one of those things that I'm always constantly aware of. And
will it move? Because a lot of it sounds like it's based, I don't know, but from listening to you, based around performance in your job. When you stop doing that job, do you think it will become less of, I don't know if fact is the right word, I won't use the word, or not?
It's hard to know whether it's going to affect other areas of my life, but yeah, I think I'm aware enough of my feelings and my emotions to understand when certain things are getting heightened or certain things are not quite feeling the way they are, and that slight chemical imbalance in my brain just feels a little bit off. And to be able to have enough people around me, or certain people around me who I can trust and sort of, I suppose, talk to about certain things, and it might even be a completely different topic, but it's able to, I suppose, open up a conversation and almost get involved in so much in what they're doing to be a distraction, and then be able to sort of go, you know what, that was actually quite relieving. I was able to get that off my chest, and I'm actually thinking about the right things now. And it's it's a constant cycle, and something that I'm always constantly working on.
One final question on India for you. Your wife, Vinny, is of Indian descent, and I loved it when you put out on social media as a private man some of what you went through in your wedding in India. What was the experience like? Like, I looked at that and thought, wow, this is a bloke from Belgrave, and cricket has taken him around the world. This is an incredible experience you're having, being embraced by an Indian family in India and getting married.
That was in Melbourne.
Oh, that was in Melbourne. That was in Melbourne.
But we had three different celebrations. So we had
3 different wedding celebrations.
Yeah, I'd say we had the traditional white wedding in the Yarra Valley.
Yep.
Then the whole next week we had I think we had 3 or 4 events during the week.
Big campaign.
So the Sunday, so it was like the Friday the week before. Then we went Monday, maybe Friday, Sunday. Yeah, Monday, Friday, Sunday, for the Indian festival, basically. And then when we got to RCB were in the bubble and they organised another wedding celebration for us. And I was cooked by this stage. I was like, I've had enough of this. But everyone got right into it. Everyone dressed up, and it was a great couple of weeks. And I was extremely grateful to have her over there and share a part of that journey. But we probably overdid it just a little bit.
What does your wife mean to you?
She means the world. Like she's literally the glue, foundations, pretty much everything in our world at the moment. And the amount of things she's sacrificed, done for me, changed her life, basically adapted to everything around me.
Where did you meet? I enjoy a love story.
We met at the Melbourne Stars Family Day about 12 years ago, maybe a bit longer. Well, about 12. And we went on one date, and then I went away for 4 months.
Funnily enough.
And I said, oh, by the way, I'm going on tour or doing something. And she just thought I wasn't interested. So, which was untrue. She didn't really understand my lifestyle. And it took a long time, I suppose, for both of us to be at a stage where we were both ready to, I suppose, settle down and be in the same sort of state. We were ready to make it work, and luckily enough we both got the timing right. End of 2017. And
was there a grand proposal? Were you down on one knee?
I was down on one knee.
Good, Glenn.
I was stressed.
Where? Give me some details if you're comfortable. I know you're a private person.
It was in Port Melbourne.
Don't fumble these details, Glenn. If there's one piece of accurate recording you need to be, this is it, Glenn.
It was in Port Melbourne somewhere.
Okay, the Port Melbourne. Let's just say in Port Melbourne.
It was in a nice little flower garden park. I've driven past this and I was like, that might work.
Pre-planning.
But it was like the fourth place I'd been to, and I was sort of telling her, I need to find a coffee just before we go home. And I was trying to find, and every time because we were in separate cars. So I was like, just meet me at this place, because I was trying to get there first so I could prepare. And I was looking at this place, and then I think there was just something wrong everywhere I went. I was like, no, I can't do it there. It's too windy or something's going on. And then found this place and sort of sent her off. I was like, you need to be over here. She's like, I can't find this cafe. Maybe I'll just meet you back at home. And I was like, no. Come find me here. And then she came back, and she'd accidentally called me. Speaking of accidentally called, why is everyone calling me at the moment?
Because you're a global icon. Right back to the start.
Well, it was
Dirk Nannes, the great skiing fast bowling sensation.
So funny.
Answer. Tell him what you're doing.
I'm just doing the Howie Games podcast.
Come on, Dirkie. We got things to do.
The Howie Games.
Piss off. You go back to your skiing, Captain Japan.
I heard Tim mentioned one yesterday or the day before. Loved it.
Oh, good man, Dirkie. Yeah. He's a good man. I love you, Dirk.
I'm very disappointed in that feedback.
Well, you've been very open here. So the phone rings. Your wife rings you. You're trying to propose, man. Don't worry about Dirkie Nannes, the Flying Dutchman.
So so I found a spot, and I'm sort of telling her, there's a cafe, I'm pretty sure, over there. And I sort of point away, and she's like, what's going on? But she doesn't realise that she's accidentally pressed call to my phone. So as I'm sort of going down, I can feel my phone vibrating. I'm like, Jesus Christ, who's calling me now? What is going on?
You're going down on one knee.
And I'm trying to get the words out. I'm like, who's calling me at this stage? And then it eventually stops, blah, blah, blah. And what's actually happened, she's called me, and it's gone through to voicemail. So we've got our whole recording over a voicemail. So it's quite funny. But what was even stupider was she goes, I think it's a bit loose, and started doing that near a gutter, near the road. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
The ring's a bit loose.
What are you doing? Just calm down.
All
It's a
right.
bit loose. Don't do that.
Now is your chance to really speak from the heart. You're a father. And again, I know this is not something you generally talk a great deal about. And I think that's a lot got to do with your profile and your travel time in India. But Logan, what has this young fella meant to you overall? And how has he changed you as a father, Glenn? Now, take Dirk's words. So no cliches here, Dirk. He rang at a perfect time.
Fuck you, Dirk.
No
seriously.
cliches. Your son being a father.
Logan's literally everything we could have dreamed of. Everything we could have dreamed of. He's the most beautiful little fella. I feel like I've got just a little mini me who is basically just attached to my hip. Every time I get home, he's so happy and smiley. Comes crawling up to me and gives me the biggest hugs, and that literally just makes every day worth it. Like he's had a couple of hard nights, being a bit crook and like screaming, but I'm just happy to be there with him and for him, and I would happily just give him anything in the world. Like he can get away with anything at the moment, and I just find myself during the days just thinking about him, and how lucky we are to have our little baby boy, and just so. I think with our journey as well, the initial miscarriage, the struggles we had trying to fall pregnant, and to get to the point where we've got a beautiful little 13-month-old who's just a happy little smiley kid who loves his dad and ignores mum when dad's around and loves mum when dad's not around, but he's everything I could have ever wanted.
So there's an answer from the heart. I know you're a busy man. I'm going to ask you about 3 more topics. The first one would be, again, I refer to having breakfast with you. I can't remember where the hotel was. And you're like, mate, I'm just grinding. You're in the middle of the IP, I'm just grinding. I've got to do so much work on my leg every day. I thought you broke your leg. It got better and you started playing cricket again. That was obviously a long way from what actually happened. So the initial thing, like, how'd you do it, and then what type of grief has it caused you? 'Cause that time, I was really surprised. You said, oh, mate, I've got to go down and grind in the gym, and it's going to be an hour, it's going to be really painful, and I'm putting it off. I don't really want to do it, but I have to do it every day to be able to go and play cricket. And I was like, huh? I just thought you broke it and away you went, as would the general public, I think.
Yeah. I think the fact that the broken leg part's actually... I think that's fine. That part of it's fine. The damage I did to my foot... the ruptured ligaments and all the scar tissue that's built up there, that's the work I have to put into it. Because the ankle joints are still a bit of a mess, and it's something that I've got to work on every day to, I suppose, get loosened up and make sure it's flexible enough to be able to run properly and bend to a point where I'm able to perform. And even with the loss of muscle in my calf, I've still got to try and build that up each day and get it back to a point where hopefully somewhere in the future I'll be able to just go for casual runs without any warm-up and be normal again. But it's just it's a constant battle, I suppose, every day to make sure that I'm coming in, do my rehab, try and build the strength and keep it moving. And I find whenever I have an extended break off, it makes it probably harder to get back and harder to, I suppose, get up to speed. And I think that's why the start of this summer's been really positive. I think to get through 4 one-day games in cold England, play a 4-dayer in the second 11, then play a 1-dayer at the Junction, and with no pain in any of that, I think is a huge tick to all the work that I've done through the last little period. So
what's the hardest part of the work? What's the worst part of it? Or what's been the worst part of it?
The worst part is probably the physio, like getting the fingers into the joint and sort of trying to, I suppose, break down a bit of that scar tissue, and that's painful. That's hard work, and probably calf raises, like trying to on a Smith machine, trying to, I suppose, put as much weight as I possibly can through it and push through that little bit of pain that there is there. And but yeah, the cool down period after training is quite difficult. I'm trying to, I suppose, give myself a chance to sort of relax and all right, get home, ice it, and just walking around the house is still a bit of hard work.
The World Cup. We don't need to talk about the 201 because you alluded to that at the start when we caught up and had a long chat for Fox Cricket. So we normally put out a part A and a part B. Keep an eye out for part C because we will use all that audio from that Fox Cricket chat, courtesy of our good friends at Fox Cricket who said we can use that. But you described that innings as you came back and you felt like the Australian public was on board. What impact has that innings had on you, do you reckon? And when did you realise, because when we spoke it was a day and a half afterwards, when did you realise the magnitude of what you'd done? And I can't remember whether I said it to you in that hotel, but it is the best single. I was talking to Graham Arnold about this the other day. I said the three best things I've seen live are Kathy Freeman winning, John Aloisi scoring a goal, and you making 200 in Mumbai. For me as a sports fan, it was something that will live with me forever. And I'm sure so many people have come up and said these stories to you. They were there, they were watching on TV, it meant this to them, it meant to that to them. It's a truly historic moment. Yeah,
I think the amazing thing about that innings is I've been told a lot of stories how it affected people and how they've got their own story. And I talked about my dad falling asleep and not watching. He's watched pretty much every game that I've ever played in my life, and Mum too scared to call him because she was going to lose the internet at home, and so she's sitting there watching, and
the old boy sleeping through it.
Old boy was asleep. So they were. My mum was babysitting my sister's son, so she was at my sister's place. So their dad was at home, and she didn't want to call him because it's like, he's probably going to get out. So I'll
probably going to get out.
And then she called him as soon as the game was over and get up, watch the replay now. What are you doing? So yeah, there was so many stories like that. I went to bed at 5 for 50 or 7 for 90 or whatever it might be, and thought the game was over and woke up halfway through and we only needed 60 or 70. I thought, I might watch the rest of this, and yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, to hear the stories from everyone, to see it have an effect was probably not something I'd ever imagined. As you said earlier, always been quite polarising and sort of had fluctuating opinions from everyone, and for that to sort of, I suppose, everyone just have a story and feel like they were a part of it was amazing.
The World Cup final itself, tell me your memories of that day. I love the big smile on your face. And now this is the best sporting event that I've worked on. What a privilege.
My memories of that day, Pat getting Virat out.
Describe the crowd to people listening. We'll put the wicket in here. I can't remember who was calling it, but there's an amazing picture of Pat with his hand in the air and just a blue wall of flatness.
Yep.
Describe the moment as where you were.
I can't remember if I was at a mid-wicket or square leg. I reckon I was on the leg side. Pretty sure. But when it hit the stumps, we all went nuts, and it was dead silent. It was so eerie. There was obviously a few little cheers from a couple of Australian supporters at the back.
It was like the last post.
Yeah.
On Anzac Day.
Yeah, it was.
That's my memory of how quiet it was. But there was 125,000 punters there.
Yeah. Well, there was 90 odd. There was less than the 2015 World Cup final.
Well, because Ravi told me he thought there was 145,000 there, but who knows how many was there that
There was
day.
less than the 2015 World Cup final. So, it's amazing that many people can be that silent and that devastated for a moment in the game. And that was one memory. And the other memory was just watching Hetty get through his first 15 to 20 balls somehow.
So how are you feeling about those first 5 overs?
Horrific.
So
nervous.
take me onto into the bench at that stage, because the ball was Bumrah and Shami. They're swinging it around corners, and
As it sometimes does in India, under lights, that first little period, around 6, 7, 8 p.m., it swings around with that brand new ball, and Bumrah is just so good with the new ball. He swings it around, even with the old ball when it's reversing. He's a weapon, and he was beating the bat. Heady was he'd either play miss or bang it through cover for 4, and there was just a couple of overs where he just started pumping them, and I was like, oh, we're good now. Like we're okay. Like it's all fine. Lose a couple of wickets the other end, and then Marnus just was so calm and cool, and it just felt like the whole World Cup was built up to that partnership, and the fact that Heady just went absolutely berserk and probably justified like us almost playing one player down for the first just over half of the tournament.
when he was injured, it was a gutsy call.
It was a
Especially
really
after
gutsy
you
call.
dropped a couple early, and that was going to be the headline.
Yeah.
Selection stuff up. Aussie's pick injured. He had missed semi-finals. That was the headline, wasn't it?
It was. There was a chance that Heady was going to come over when the tournament was already gone. And the fact that we were able to, I suppose, keep ourselves alive until he got over there.
And his catch
His catch was
Off you?
unbelievable. Unbelievable. And
to get rid of Rohit.
Rohit, yeah. How that over didn't go for more, I have no idea. I was literally letting the ball go and just don't go for 6. Like wherever, please just don't hit for 6. And he's awful to bowl to. Awful to bowl to. He's so good. And it's been 14 years. There's been 12 years of just aiming at the middle of his bat and just getting pumped all over the place. And for him to take that catch at that moment, right near the back end of the power play, gave us a huge boost going forward. And they were flying. I think they were on 80 odd in the first 10, and I think they got 160 off the next 40.
Yeah.
So amazing that we were able to put the brakes on and go about it in a really unique way for those next 40 overs.
I used this description of someone recently: to see you guys in the rooms afterwards, which is the biggest privilege of my professional career, but to see you chatting and laughing and, taking the piss out of each other while you've got the World Cup and your medals, it was no different to, and I use this description, to Barwon Head C grade after we might beat Torquay, except you're just so much better at the game of cricket. But it struck me as you were just blokes that love cricket, like a lot of us do, and girls that love cricket, but you're sitting there in the upper echelons due to your talent. It surprised me how normal a cricket scene it was.
Yeah, it was never going to be too outlandish as well. I think being
Dry state,
Ahmedabad, and had some families come in as well. We obviously had a few photographers in there, sort of taking photos with the boys, trying to get different groups together for different things. Had Finchy in there as well. We got our traditional photo of both of us kissing the trophy, and it was just like almost the perfect storm of like, this is what we've been working towards for so long. The 4-year build-up from the disappointment in the semi-final in 2019 to get to this position in India against the tournament hosts, against the tournament favourites. They haven't dropped a game. They sort of look unbeatable in their own conditions, and to get the job done, and probably with maybe 30 or 40 runs out, you can almost sort of start to relax a bit and actually really enjoy it. So it's a slow, exciting build up to that position. So there was obviously stress throughout the first 200 runs, like getting to that point. But once Heady got past 100, it was like, this is carnage. He was absolutely smacking them all over the place, and knowing that we had Marnus doing an unbelievable job at the other end, I think everyone was pretty calm.
I think about 70 runs to go, at which point
I was next in, I'll just remind you. So I was absolutely packing them.
and hit winning runs.
with one of the ugliest. Well, to go with the 2021 World Cup, two of the ugliest shots to ever win World Cups.
Winning
but
runs.
that's going to be
That's
there.
the moment.
That's awful.
With Big Ravi calling it.
Funny thing is, it's Buff's had two of those moments in two World Cups
Oh,
where
of
he was
course.
the final catch, the winning runs in 1999, winning catch in 2003. So he's had two of those moments as well. His were a bit more clinical. Mine was shocking.
You still hit the winning
Mine
runs,
were
Glenn.
filthy. It was like a stickered reverse and a chunked slog.
So when you go out and let's use Monday as an example, Australia versus Pakistan, MCG, you walk out in the middle with your magnificent kookaburra. What is it about kookaburras and small men with hairy arms that just work? Like you and Ponting and kookaburras, small hairy arms, whatever it is works. What is your mindset, Glenn Maxwell, in 2024 when you walk out to bat in international cricket with your kookaburra twirling your hands ready to go?
Well, I'm in I suppose, a different position, I suppose, in the batting lineup where the game sort of dictates the pace I need to play at and the style of game I need to play. And I really enjoy the different challenges that brings up. And I generally try and give myself a couple of overs before, I suppose, trying to size up the opposition and see who I can try and take on and see how much pressure I can put them under. And conditions always dictate that, but I feel in a really good place that the team backs me to do whatever job is required. And I'm really looking forward to this series because who knows? It could be the last one day I play at the MCG, and who knows what next year looks like. And it feels like it's been a long time since we played again a one day at the MCG, and I missed all the one days last summer. I think it was against the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
Not even sure if they played one at the MCG.
I can't remember either.
Oh,
I don't think there was.
a long time ago.
Happens in a hurry.
long
Glenn,
time
we
ago.
always finish the podcast the same way. You've achieved tremendous success in your field. People will listen to this that are hoping to achieve success. A lot of youngsters will listen to this. And I hope the youngsters that are playing cricket listen to Glenn talk about the fact that he made a duck in his first innings and hardly got past 10, because that is a good timeline of how brutal the game of cricket can be, whether you're playing under 10s or playing for your country. What advice would you give to those youngsters that are tuning in here that want to achieve success, not just as cricketers, but as soccer players, pianists, scientists or plumbers?
I suppose to love what you do. I think I've loved cricket since the first time I could pick up a cricket bat, and I fell in and out of love with the game at different times. But to remember why I started playing the game and to remember the things I absolutely loved about it is the reason I keep coming back to, I do love this game. And to remember those reasons why you love a certain thing and why that's your passion and your love, I think if you can try not to lose that and try and always keep that in focus, I think that's one of the most important things.
Great advice. The book is The Showman. It is out by Glenn Maxwell. Outstanding podcast. I've been looking forward to this for so long. On your mate Dirk Nannis's level of 0 to 10 on being open and honest and steering away from cliches, how do you reckon you've done?
Well, we'll have to wait for Dirk's. We'll have to call him back. I don't know. I thought I was pretty good this morning.
I thought you were absolutely outstanding, Maxi. May you have many more years of success and a happy family ahead of you. Well done.
Cheers, Howie. Thank
Well
you very
done.
much.